Hey everybody, Tony D and Little Joan here with a screenwriter's rant on The Harder They Fall, a new Western from Netflix. And you know how much I love Westerns. Now this is black cowboys, essentially. And this is also an example of writers who I think have forgotten what heroes do. So this starts with them stopping the train, and Regina's character, Regina King is her name, I think. She just parks her horse on the train. Now the guy who runs the train stops, and he's about to call her the N-word when she shoots him dead. And you might say, well, he was going to say the N-word. He stopped the train. Okay, so that doesn't quite jibe. It doesn't quite give her the justification to just murder the guy. That wouldn't have been, and he was unarmed. He didn't have a gun. So all she had to do was saying, we're taking the train. Right? So her crew goes inside the train, and they're there turns out to free Idris Elba. And they've taken all the soldiers hostage, and then they murder all the soldiers. Now, can you imagine back in the Bush era? They wouldn't even allow the Hulk to fight soldiers in a fantasy movie. But in this, it's perfectly fine to massacre Union soldiers because they captured them. This is not how you do. And Idris and his gang are the good guys in this. And there's a lot of blood in these credits, and there should be. This is a pretty bloody movie. But I have zero sympathy for these characters because they're a bunch of murderous a-holes. And you could say, well, the guys they're murdering are racist. That might be true. I mean, it is the Old West, but seems like they're piling up the bodies just in the opening sequence. Just to be like, hey. No. Wrong. I have no interest in this movie, and I love Westerns, and I like Idris Elba in movies, and I think he'll probably be good in this, but you've already undermined their heroic nature by having them just murder people. It'd be different if they murdered their friends, or, they pulled guns and they had to shoot them. Oh no, that's not how it goes down in this trailer anyway. He just gives them the signal, and they just go ahead and murder them all. Now, maybe it's true. Idris was unduly kidnapped or whatever. But in the Old West, in Hollywood anyway, that would have been a signal to humiliate the guys. Right? Tie them up, take their clothes, tell them to go running off in the desert. You're on your own now. How do you like it? It's like a proportional response. There's nothing in this trailer to show us that. So there may be something in the movie to show us that. They may show in the movie, this is a special task force of Union soldiers that hunted down slaves, and they murdered most of them, but they captured Idris Elba because the reward was different. Otherwise, they would have murdered him too. Okay. Still doesn't explain the train guy, really. The train guy who was unarmed? Okay, he was going to say a bad word. Oh, we should kill him. Okay. If that's the moral set you're going to go with in this movie, it's not going to be that good. It's just not, and it's not even a conscious thing with most people. Just subconsciously, it will sort of eat on them, because if any of the characters in the movie call somebody a name, then they're going to be like, well, why don't they get shot at? You see how it works? If you set the bar that low for murder, well then, a movie like this could be great. It's got a good cast. Obviously has a lot of money behind it. The soundtrack is funky as opposed to a normal Western soundtrack. But that's, I don't know, feels mildly racist to put in a funky soundtrack just because all the characters are black. That's not Western music in my view, but okay, I can kind of understand it. And then they introduce an even worse guy who kills a priest, and then they show Idris beating a guy, and here's Regina King, and here are all these other guys doing gunfighting. There's another guy doing gunfighting. This fall we ride. Well, I'm not riding it, and I'm a fan. I'm a fan of both. Coming soon. In select theaters, too. I'm a fan of both Idris and the Western, and, I wrote a Western with black cowboys. And that was part of the, when you have a protagonist, part of the deal is you want everything stacked against your protagonist. The fact that black cowboys existed in the Wild West gives them an extra sort of bump as heroes in that setting, because there was racism. They were not considered equals in that world. But in this, they're portrayed as the guys in charge, and in fact, they casually murder people. That's not a heroic stance. It's not the way you do it. It's a terrible message to send people. I wouldn't see this movie. First act, they rescue Idris and kill all these guys, thereby undermining the rest of the movie. Second act, Idris has to go after the even worse guy, who's even more murderous than him, apparently. But again, I mean, these guys killed a train full of soldiers and an unarmed man. How many guys does the bad guy have to kill for you to go, oh yeah, he's much worse? Does he have to openly torture people and kill children and animals? I mean, it's probably not going to it's probably not going to be that big a deal. It's just going to be, oh, he killed my friend, or he killed people close to us. That's why we're going after for revenge. That's not the same. It doesn't have the dramatic weight as if, had these cowboys merely took everybody hostage, disarmed everybody, and then humiliated them. You'd say, oh, these guys are hilarious, right? Oh, this is fun. This is a fun Western. These guys are better, right? Because even if, and especially if those soldiers had killed a bunch of Idris's friends, he could prove himself the better man. Instead, mass murder. You can't just do cowboys and then kill a bunch of people and then have people. If there's no dramatic impact in the early deaths, then how do you expect to have any dramatic impact further on? Third act, they beat the bad guy. Nothing can stop these characters. I can already see it. It's because the writers they've forgotten what heroes are. And this is going to be a tremendous waste of money. People aren't going to even be able to sit through this movie. Because with that undermining by the second act, people are just going to get bored. They're just going to go, I guess they're having another gunfight. What else is on? You have to make your heroes heroic. They can't murder people. Netflix. That's a shame. Once again, Idris Elba put in a movie that probably isn't very good. Anyhow, that's my 2 cents. Make sure you check out our other 2 videos on Bitchute and Rumble, including a news blast and including a hot take on one of my favorite topics, Hunter Biden.